What's up, everybody? Welcome to Table. What is our channel name?
Turtle. Tabletop turtle. Why do you make it tongue twister?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to our channel. I'm Mike.
And I'm Kim.
And you were watching Tabletop Turtle. For this video, we kind of decided that we needed some sort of top list. We couldn't do a top 10 list because Kim is a little new to gaming. You're pretty new. I'm not new. I've been in the business for, maybe a couple decades. So I'm kind of big time.
He's ancient. He was around before the first board game was ever created.
That's right. I just chiseled it in the rock. The first rule book.
There's a rule book? There were books?
There was a rule book. So essentially what we decided to do is create a top 5. That way you get a sense of like what kind of games we're into. So for my number 5, Archipelago. So in Archipelago, you are a European colonizer competing in the settling of the Caribbean archipelago. In some sense, you work together, but each of you have their own selfish motives and desires to be the best power in the region, which you'll do by exploring territories, harvesting resources, manipulating the shared market, building infrastructure. You do all this while making sure the locals don't revolt, where based on the art, I can only assume means gathering around you and sticking their tongue out at you. Horror. This is probably going to be the most controversial game on my list because for whatever reason, this seems to be a game that a lot of people hate. You like it though, right?
Sure.
She loves it. I think the reason for that is if you check forums, a lot of people will talk about how they don't like the semi-cooperative nature of the game and how one individual can just tank the game. But I don't think we typically play with those people. Usually the people that we play with, it's, everybody playing to win and like doing their best.
If you don't play those people, you are those people.
Yeah, that's right. But I love the fact that the game incorporates negotiation. Like you hardly ever see that. Like aside from Catan and a few others, like maybe Lords of Vegas, you very rarely see negotiation. I understand why, because a lot of times it can sort of bog down playtime, but I love that sort of interaction. You get a ton of that in this game. In addition, the artwork is gorgeous. This is some of the best art you'll ever see in a board game. They have different artists for the cards, different artists for the tiles, and they all come together beautifully to make something that is just absolutely amazing. Yeah? Behold.
It is very pretty.
It's super pretty.
Some of the best artwork you've seen in a game. Debatable.
She's new to gaming. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. Oh, I should bleep that out. This is a family-friendly channel. The other thing I love about this game is the powers that you acquire. You get these cards and you sort of buy them on a shared marketplace. And the powers themselves are incredibly unique. You know how in some games you get one card and it's like, oh, get +1 to your dice roll. In this game, it's something completely different every single time. And they feel like crazily game breaking. There's one called the Prison. And what the prison does is you can capture other people's settlers and you throw them in prison and they have to pay for like a ransom to get the prisoners back.
Yes, that's why we like the game so much. Right?
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Totally
it's so awesome.
Totally want to bribe my way out of prison. Yep.
What do you think of Archipelago? You played it a couple times.
I do like it.
Yeah, and that's all you need to know. She does like it. 10 out of 10.
Not for me.
What are your thoughts?
It's a fun game, but I do agree that, some of the cards, some of the abilities, they are wild. They are very unique. You don't see them in the game, but that's about as far as uniqueness goes in this game for me.
Too many negatives. She loves it. Buy it tomorrow. I mean, today.
Why tomorrow?
Buy it right now, in the present.
And my number 5 is the ever so popular Imperial Settlers. Imperial Settlers is an empire-building card game that sees players squaring off against other unique civilizations to fight for supremacy in a new world. Construct buildings, maximize production, and above all else, crush your enemies.
No, you're reading it wrong. It's really like, crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of the pink meeples.
Why?
It's from Conan.
I like a good story. I like to feel that the game is very immersive, that you're in a brand new world and you're doing these fun actions that you could never do in real life. For me in particular, I like that you get certain types of civilizations, right? You get to pretend to be Roman, Japanese, etc.
You talk in accents and everything. That's what we do at our table. It's all role playing. It's like D&D.
That's just him. That's just him. But I do like that every single civilization, faction, whatever you want to call it, every single unique ability that you get is very true to that civilization. And some of them can be kind of mean, but it's fun to be mean.
Yeah, it's a great game. And I love like the engine building portion of it, where once you get a bunch of production, it becomes this huge chain where you're just gobbling up resources at the start of your turn.
I think that's what's so fun, right? Like, because you have all these abilities that are different from anyone else that's playing, and you create this, like you said, your whole engine, and it keeps going.
Yeah, and the conflict that exists in the game it's really minor. Yeah, you can burn people's things down, but that becomes like I can't remember what they call it in the game. Is it a ruin? But anyway, I think it's a ruin, and that ruin can be used to build other cards. So it's okay.
Basically, he's saying that he's not offended whenever I destroy his buildings, which is nice. And this game has really nice pieces and resources. A lot of them are cute little meeple, apples.
If you want to make it our top 10 game, you'll notice this. You just have to have nice looking resources. I don't want to spoil what's on the list, but it's just nice resources. That's all you need.
I wish he was wrong, but... Okay, in my defense, in my justification, if you're playing a board game, it's a physical, tactile thing.
It's true.
If it's not going to have nice pieces and everything I'm feeling is paper or cardboard, I might as well play it virtually or digitally, and I don't have to worry about, the setting up and taking it down and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Settlers. So for my number 4, Keyflower. So Keyflower is a worker placement, an auction game, where you'll start by bidding against other players in a shared market for various tiles that represent different structures that you could potentially place in your village. Once the auction is over, players place their newly obtained tiles in their village and then place their workers either on their own buildings or in buildings of others to obtain various resources. And in the end, whoever's built the best Midsummer-like village before the old people jumped off that rock, spoiler, is the winner. So Keyflower has one of my favorite things in worker placement games. Building your own spot to place your worker that usually only you will be accessing. Although in this game, it has a very shared sense of community because the things that I've built, like if I built a blacksmith, for example, Kim can come over and visit it. But it's to the benefit of me because I get whatever meeple she places on my tile. And I love that. I love when worker placement games do that.
You just like to steal my meeples.
I just like to steal her meeples, and that's the only reason this Keyflower's on the list. Okay, so for the next, no. In a lot of city building games, I feel like I'm building nothing. I just feel like I'm building mechanisms. In Keyflower, I generally feel like I'm building a village. I love the idea that like you have to get the resources and use your horse and buggy to transport them to certain tiles within your city. I love the fact that like I'm sending away my little citizens to other people's cities because maybe Kim's specializing in wood crafting or something, and I don't know, we're behind in technology or something. We don't have that. And that's fun. That's a lot of fun to me. I even love the auction mechanic. I think the auction mechanic is great. It's super easy to explain. It adds another avenue for interacting with players, and you can go super hard on one tile if you really, really want it, or you can sort of like push your luck and put down one meeple in the hopes that like, oh, I hope Kim doesn't want that. I hope Mark doesn't want that. It's cool. It's super cool. What do you think of Keyflower?
I don't remember the game.
Yeah. Buy it today. It leaves a lasting impression.
Okay. And for an actually good 4th place game, ooh, Ingenious. Plays colorful tiles for some reason. The end. Okay. So this is a very different game from the majority of my top games.
Yeah, because you said you like games that tell stories. This tells literally 0 stories.
Yeah, I really like games with really good themes and you go on an adventure and that kind of stuff. This is the opposite of that. This is also a strategy game, but it's an abstract strategy game. I think a big reason why I like it so much is every single person that you play with can impact how the game goes so greatly. That, as well as the scoring. Scoring is a little strange. It's that high-low scoring where you want to max out on these different categories. At the same time, your final end game scoring is based upon your lowest score.
Yeah, so you have to create like a sort of balance as you progress in your scoring, which is really unique. Although I think it's super common in Rainer Knizia games. He does that a lot in his games.
Mathy games.
Yeah, he's a mathematician.
No wonder I like him so much. It explains why I'm so good at this game and you're not. And one thing I've learned about this game, and is why I hate this game, is if you're playing with people that want to gang up on you, they'll all try to do things to prevent you from getting what you want or having access to a certain color that you need. And playing with some very mean people, makes it hard but challenging. And it makes it that much more satisfying when you win the game, even against these odds.
The game actually, yeah, it's deceptive. It seems like it's just like, oh, whatever, place my tiles around, but it can be really mean. You can make it as mean as you want to make it, or just not make it mean at all and just be, I don't know, communal or something, but that's boring. Who cares?
But this specific abstract game just has so much, I don't know, something special about it. It's always going to hold, it's always going to hold a special space in my heart just because it's so different. There's no set theme, but still there's such a unique feeling when playing this particular game.
Are you cheating on me with Rainer Knizia?
I can't say that in front of them.
Let me see. This game sucks.
Okay, one other big thing is, and Mike would never say this or feel this, English is his first language. It is mine too, but I have a lot of friends where English is not their first language, and understanding themes of games can get very complicated. A lot of games have specific actions that, like play with the theme. And if you don't understand pirates, a lot of these words are just confusing and a mess to you. With this kind of game and being abstract, there's no cards to read, there's no complicated rules to understand. It's very simple, but still allows for complex strategy, which allows for so many more types of people to be able to play.
Yep. And it has pegboards. What more do you need than pegboards?
Truly. I love them.
Ingenious.
But it's annoying to get them out sometimes. They get stuck.
No more ingenious talk. And my number 3? Argent. It's time to elect a new chancellor at Anime Hogwarts. In Argent, the consortium, you are applying for that prestigious job and building up your resume by researching spells, building your influence, hiring apprentices, burning worker booties, all to impress the judges who won't tell you what their judging criteria is. Classic. So I mean this in all sincerity. Argent is one of the most beautiful mess of the games imaginable. It's amazing. Like, there's just so much stuff going on. The box is so filled with, and I say this in a nice way, crap, that it's great. Every game feels completely unique. And I love teaching this game too, because there's so many different spells that, like, you can see the person's confusion on their face as a new spell's revealed, and it's just like completely breaks a certain portion of the game. And it's hectic, it's crazy, it's a little mean, and I like that it's a little mean. And I'm a big fan of those end game goals, which are somewhat secret. I say somewhat because throughout the course of the game, you can peek. You can sort of peek at what these judges are judging based on. And not only that, but it allows for like this new level of strategy where I pay super close attention to what everybody's doing. So if I see like Kim's gathering a shit ton of mana, well, there it is. Family-friendly channel. If I see Kim gaining a poop ton of mana, I say, okay, there must be a judge that's saying, like, if you have the most mana, you get this card. But that also opens up a new avenue where she could just be bluffing, or she's just not even paying any attention. She's just gathering a bunch of mana. It just throws you completely off.
That's about right. Yeah. This game has 10 different goals at a point in time, and it's constant action basically to go peek at one of these cards. And if you're anything like me and have a worse memory than a goldfish, you don't remember all 10.
You can relook. You're allowed to relook, so it's okay. Plus, the weeb in me loves anime. Although this is more like 90s, early 2000s anime.
There's an anime that I'm watching right now that is basically like an anime version of Harry Potter. And the vibes, this is just like that. It feels just like that.
He goes through the anime basically, and he doesn't know how to cast spells or do any magic, so instead he just punches things. Muscle magic. I cast bicep. Because
this YouTube channel is for him to flex his muscles.
By Argent. Anime.
And in my third space,
my back.
we have Everdel. Everdel is a worker placement tableau card game that sees players attempting to establish the most lively and fun village by constructing quaint buildings and attracting lively critters. Send your cute anime meeple workers out to harvest twigs, orange things, green things, and most importantly, squishy things. So squishy. If you've never seen this game before, it is the cutest thing ever. Ever. We do have the complete collection. Is this a Kickstarter?
That's a Kickstarter, yeah.
You get to build this little city full of cute little animals. And every building or critter, what do they call the buildings?
Buildings.
No, it's another word for it. Construction. For every construction or critter that you build, it gives you some kind of bonus and some ability. A lot of these engine building type games, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it almost feels like you're head down building your own thing and you never see the opponent until the end of the game you're comparing victory points and how well your engine's been built. This game, I feel like it does. You do need to look at what your opponents are doing.
You are keeping an eye out to see whether or not they're trying to obtain the same objectives you are.
Yeah.
And also, it has that thing that I like in games, which I just mentioned, about the worker placement, where you can build your own place to place a worker. And not only that, but they have some buildings that have the word open on it, like say a little open sign, and you can go into another person's village and put your worker down on there. Yeah.
So it's a lot of player interaction that I love. And of course, the art of everything, it's just so aesthetically pleasing.
It's just a chill game. I think the vibe is just chill. And that sometimes you want that. Sometimes you want to play Argent and you want to throw fireballs at people and kill people and irritate everybody. And other times you just want to lay back, sit back, play some cute looking critters. So that's Everdel. So for my number 2, there's a bit of a crossover. Our first crossover. It's going to be her number 1. So we'll skip my number 2 and let's go straight to hers.
Is this something that's the only game that is on both our top 5 lists?
You think there'd be more crossover given the fact that we're a couple, but...
Not the fact that we're a couple, but the fact that we play majority of our games together.
Yeah.
Since we met, I don't really know if I've played maybe less than 5 games without you.
When the hell are you playing games without me?
You don't need to know that.
I'm on to you, Rainer Knizia. I know what you... Stay away from my woman, Rainer Knizia, with your math degree.
And without further ado, my number 2 spot goes to Beyond the Sun. Have you ever played a strategy game and selected a new technology from a massive tree tech and thought, yeah, this should be a game? Thankfully, you can do just that in Beyond the Sun, a space civilization game where players compete by researching new technologies on a massive tech tree to get the edge on their opponents by growing the galactic empire and expanding their planetary dominance. But yeah, it's a really cool game that allows for a lot of very complex strategy, but it's also almost very intuitive. I don't know how to explain that about games, but some games feel this makes sense.
Yeah.
This actually makes sense.
Yeah, like she was saying, when I teach this game and people see it, it's a little daunting at first with a tech tree, but you give it one round and they just get it. And you can kind of ascertain what the rules are without even knowing them almost. And that's what we're talking about when we say intuitive. It's a beautiful, well-crafted game. It's amazing. It feels incredibly unique. And if I'm not mistaken, the designer, this is his only game. I think this is, or at least his first game. So kudos to you, Mr. Chan.
I highly recommend this game. If you never played it, definitely give it a look into it. Play it sometime with some friends. You won't regret it.
That's Beyond the Sun, blasting off at number 2. I'll add After Effects things here, and it'll be like blasting away. Okay, no, I won't. And finally, my number 1, which you can already see off the table, it's Through the Ages, a new story of civilization. So Through the Ages is a brilliantly strategic and beautifully dense board game that perfectly captures the feel of controlling a civilization throughout history. You build wonders, manage resources, fight wars, choose new leaders, and colonize new lands. Each grand action a civilization could take is amazingly condensed mechanically into these easy-to-understand cards. And you know what? Nothing says empire building like pushing around translucent microscopic cubes and electing glorious leaders like Bill Gates. What the Yeah, it's been my favorite game forever. I love it. I love that every game feels so incredibly different and unique. I love the card drafting and how the cards kind of slide down. You can see what's coming and you can sort of plan ahead and you can decide maybe I'm not going to upgrade that minor technology. I'll wait a couple ages and I'll do it then, or just don't upgrade at all. It's just so cool. It's just such a cool game. And it's the granddaddy of civilization games. There's a lot of civ games out there and somehow through some miracle, this game captures that feeling of building a civilization. And of course, I know exactly what that feels like. I'm building civilizations 24 hours a day. And it's my job. My job is building civilizations.
Just to show you guys how much he loves this game. So before he ever showed this game to me, see, he has a little tablet. And it's mainly used for reading manga. But the only game I've ever seen him play on a tablet is this game. I've never seen him play any of the game virtually because he is very true to board games have to be physical, tactile. We have to lay it out. That's why we have a board game mat here. It has to be a physical game, except this game. This game, he would happily play virtually.
Yeah. And like, there are some drawbacks. Like, it's a long game. But to me, it feels like one of those games that's worth that time investment. You know, you set aside time on a Sunday morning, it's raining out, and you're like, hey, let's play some Through the Ages. Yeah, if you play 2-player, it'll be like 2.5, maybe 3 hours. It's worth it. It's worth it. The way the war works and where you battle works and just military strength is like this constant Cold War where you're glancing over at your opponent and thinking like, okay, are they gonna get more archers? Are they gonna get more tanks? Should I beef my stuff up? Because you might be focusing on building other things like, I'm gonna be cultural this game. But then you see Kim, you look over at Kim and she's like, more clubs, more spears. And you just have a choice. You'd be like, okay, no more drama, no more music. It's time to get real. Yeah, so it's my favorite game. This is not a game that I'd bust out if my family came over. My family don't really play a lot of games. It would probably be something that I would only play with somebody who's a bit more seasoned. As condescending as that sound, but it's oh, you are seasoned now. She's a seasoned vet down in the trenches, seeing all the hard stuff every day. But yeah, it's I love it. I love it.
And for the game you've all been waiting for,
my number 2, her number 1, Ark Nova. So in Ark Nova, you're building and managing your own zoo to make the most successful and PETA-friendly zoo possible. Build enclosures, support conservation efforts, hire animal-friendly and knowledgeable staff, trap specific animals, and poison your fellow zookeepers with the venom extracted from your snake prisoners. Yeah, this game is amazing. Like I was hesitant to put it on my list at first just because it is so new, and I kind of want a game to stand the test of time. But it's just every time I feel like playing a board game. It feels like there's a part of me that's just like,
Ark Nova.
Yeah, it's like, I should play Ark Nova again. Even though you played like the previous day and we have almost 400 games.
Okay. But really, whenever he's like, I played this game yesterday, I played it again today, it's normally because he lost and he wants
my vengeance. That's right. So what do you like about the game? It's your number 1. So you start off. What do you love?
I didn't really mention this a lot throughout the video, but I love the scoring as wild as it is. And I know it's weird to start with, like, the first thing I love about the game is the scoring. Really? Why?
Like how they pass things?
Yeah. Okay. Not just the passing things, but the way different things are scored. Because there's these 2 different ways of scoring, like how you build up your engine of your zoo, you have to be very strategic about it. And there's so many ways to go about doing so. I've always been collecting supporters, and he has tried, but gets unlucky with his draws or something. Always ends up with a more diverse number of animals and types of animals in a zoo than a big collection of supporters like I normally do. Yeah, the game's well done. Like it feels like you're building a zoo to some extent. And the animal cards themselves, they're so variable. And this is something that kind of, I guess, got repeated in the video a lot, but I like when theme matches the mechanics. When you're building certain cards, it really does feel like you're putting that animal in the zoo. Like even the mechanics that the animal does, like it seems fitting to the creature. Yeah, and so there's also continents that are included in this game. And so sometimes you'll build certain animals and maybe they're from the African continent. It's a little tag that appears on the card. And you need to really have the African continent in your player board from a previous round, or you can't build that animal, which makes sense. You need to have an enclosure, that idea, that has the right environment for that kind of animal. And then for certain types of conservations, you need to collect a certain number of animals from that continent to support that conservation. So a lot of these goals of the game are very thematic. And it just makes it very satisfying to collect all these things to achieve these goals. And the way the actions work is really unique, like really well designed. You have these 5 action cards and they slide along this chart. And you can say like, oh, I really want to build animals now, but it might be at level 2. Whereas if you just wait a few more turns and you can get up to level 5, you'll get a much more powerful version of that action. And that decision to decide not only what action you're going to do, but when best to perform that action, it's just so cool. And the fact that you can upgrade each one of those actions to make them more powerful, and the fact that you can't upgrade them all, so you have to make a choice every game to be like, okay,
maybe this game I'm not going to get the best animals. I'm not going to get the highest upgraded animals. But I want more. I want more employees out doing stuff. Yeah, it's just so cool.
It honestly, like even the stuff you just said about thinking how to make these decisions, it's so true when you're actually building a zoo. You know, you have to decide. You don't have infinite
We build
amounts of
zoos
money.
all the time. We know.
Obviously, from our one dog in our house, you know, you have to decide. You know, do you want to hire more experienced workers?
Sure.
Do you want to build larger enclosures? Like, where's the give and take? And the game ends when your two tokens cross each other. And so this one, like few games where I feel that I not only have to be very mindful of what I'm doing, I have to watch what he's doing and where his victory points are. Because if you're not keeping pace with your opponent, they'll cross their two tokens before you do and before you're ready to. And you end up with a negative score.
Yeah. Like out of every game we own, I would say this game has the most emphasis placed on that last turn that you place. Because you want to shoot past your token, your other token, as far as you can. So you might be holding that giant, like a Siberian tiger for the entire game because you're like, this is the card I'm going to use at the last moment to get the highest possible score. And that's cool too. I like that. That's very
Yeah, you really have to plan your turns and how to end the game.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's why it's my number 2. It's why it's her number 1. It's awesome. Mark Nova is amazing.
And very educational.
So that was our list. That was our top 5. I hope it gave a good sense of the type of games we like. You probably noticed a lot of like similarities between the games. Like I like a lot of heavier games, which have a good amount of interaction and a lot of variability. I think variability is probably shared between both of our lists, where each game feels entirely different than the last game. That's
really important, right? That's definitely one of the main criteria we have for whether or not we want to play a game again. Is it going to feel exactly like last time, or is it going to be, you know, have the same mechanisms, but also have some new variable to it?
Yeah, and hopefully we can make a top 10 of something some other time. This was just basically just to give an idea of the type of games that we like. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, leave that message in the comment section. Is that what people say?
No, that's really bad.
Why?
Be like, this is...
Leave a comment in the comment section. More energy.
No, stop. Be like, these are our top 5 favorite games. We would love to know what your top 5 favorite games are. Leave that in the comments below. Don't say I don't care.